Hello everyone. I want to start off by saying thank you to everyone that tuned in last week. And I am so excited to bring you more terrifying tales. Of course, if you want your tale to be read here on the podcast, simply send me a message on Discord or post it in the Reddit r/GueroBladeCruise. Now I know why you're really here. You're here for the truly terrifying tales to be told tonight. So why don't we just jump right into it, shall we? Our first terrifying tale was sent to us by Anonymous on Discord. Let's begin, shall we? So, this is a pretty infamous one around the base. Won't share the name or location for obvious reasons. At the rear of the compound there is an access gate at the bottom of the hill. For night watch, the guards, usually volunteers, would have to patrol the area and then check that each gate was locked. One night, one of the guys was checking the gate when he heard an odd noise behind him. He looked down and to his surprise, there was a single marble rolling uphill. Thinking it strange, and curiosity clouding his better judgment, he picked up the marble to inspect it. That was when he heard the disembodied voice of a little boy saying,
"My big brother took my marble."
The guy froze. He heard the stories, but he brushed it off, and now he's experiencing it firsthand. He did the smart thing by holding the marble in an open palm and putting it behind him. He felt chills as he felt a childlike hand scoop up the marble, and it was no longer in his hand. He then booked it out of there and informed the warrant officer about it. The officer simply laughed it off, said he did the right thing, and told him to go back to work. I'm going to break character a little bit here, and I'm going to say that one thing that terrifies me to no end, and one thing I never want to experience, is ghost children. That is something I will never trust, and that is something I will never want to experience. Just no. Alright, let's get back into it, alright? Our second story of the night is brought to us by the same anonymous user on Discord. Here we go. Here's a personal account of strange things in my part of the base. I am a medical instructor posted at the base. One of my duties is to clean up and check equipment once the day is done or before it starts. Being the forced morning owl that I am usually the first person to arrive. For practice, we have these medical mannequins that can play noises, and these, being old, their batteries are dried out or missing, so they only work when plugged in. So I was prepping stuff when I heard the beep of the ECG machine. Those had batteries that work, so I ignored it. But when I went to check, I realized I was holding the battery, and that unit was unplugged and dead. It was spooky, but I simply said a prayer and brushed it off. More so when just a week before, one of my seniors joked that it was a common occurrence. You know, I gotta say, It's seeming more and more clear to me that no matter what military base you're on, and no matter what military you're in, haunted stuff seems to happen no matter what. So yeah, that's pretty creepy story. Thank you for sharing. I know you sent a third one, and I promise you, next episode I will read that third story. Thank you, and I hope you listen. Now, let's move on to the next one, shall we? This next story is from the Elf Lord on Discord, or Den and Wade on Instagram. Whoa, the first scary story I can think of was when I was about 4 or 5. I lived in northeast Missouri in this former restaurant turned house with my mom, dad, and baby sister. The first time this instance happened, it was dark and stormy. I know, cliche, right? I was in my room playing with some of my toys when all of a sudden I heard thunder. I didn't think much about it, but then the thunder continued and went on and on until I finally looked out my window. Now, my window must have been about 8 feet long. It was pretty wide, and I saw these 2 red dots zip right by, like the backlights of a car or something. And then all of a sudden, they turned back and stared right at me. I felt this frightening cold fear deep down as I stared at it as if it was wanting to hurt me. I shot up and ran into the living room and cried to my mom and dad about it being out there. And my dad ran out there and soon came back in to tell me there was nothing out there. Oh, I gotta say, seeing creepy red eyes just staring back at you during a thunderstorm, that does not sound fun. That sounds absolutely horrifying. And well, I'm glad you're okay. And I hope nothing like that happens again. If it does, feel free to message me again. I'll read your story right here on the podcast. For real though, I'm glad you're okay. And I'm glad that it just was curious and just stared at you and went about its business. Alright, let's move on to the third story, shall we? Our third story of tonight comes from Rose on Discord. So when I was about 23, I was living in my grandma's garage. In the garage is the access to the basement. I grew up in this house, and the basement was one place I hated going. It always felt like there was something evil down there. Mind you, this house was built in the 70s. Well, one night I heard the door to the basement open, and me being who I am, I peeked around the corner, and in the doorway stood an all-black figure. Couldn't see its face, clothes, or anything like that. It was just a black shadow in the shape of a very large person. Needless to say, I ran away, called my dad, and he came over. When he went to the basement, the door was locked from the outside, I didn't lock it, and he searched the whole basement, and there was no one there. Later that night, I swore I heard a man laughing in the stairway. I slept inside the house that night. Well, Rose, you see, this is why I'm glad in California we don't have basements. From what I've heard, I don't know if it's true or not, we're too close to sea level to be able to have basements here. And this is one of the reasons I'm very glad we do not have basements. If you live in California and you have a basement, cool. I didn't know we were able to have them. But in all seriousness though, I'm really glad I have never lived in a house with a basement, because that is one of my worst fears, and basements freak me out. Just alright. That's oh man. Let's get to the last story of the night, shall we? Our last story of the night is by Anonymous on Reddit. I recently started college and moved into one of the dorm halls on campus. The room I was in has space for 2 people, where the beds are divided by a wall. And there's also 2 fairly big sliding closet mirrors facing each other right in the entryway of the door. That alone gives me the creeps. In the first term of school, everything went by fairly smooth, besides the random feeling that I was being watched, or that something was about to touch the back of my neck. My desk is right across from the entrance, so my back is towards the door most nights while I study, and at night I have to have a light facing it, because something about it being in the dark between those mirrors seems wrong. I would see the occasional glimpse of something small out of the corner of my eye, but usually just brushed it off as my imagination. Winter break came around and I went home for the holiday, and the week after I came back for winter term, I went out to dinner with some of my friends. My roommate had also left not long before me to go and get her ears pierced, so no one was in the dorm room. When I came back, everything on my desk was turned upside down. Water bottles, medication, perfume bottles, my laptop, and even a wooden anchor I painted and put on my wall was hanging upside down. I felt absolutely violated because someone had touched my things, and due to a traumatic event in my past, this particular thing made me spiral emotionally. My roommate was back before me, and I asked her if she or one of her friends did it, and she seemed just as confused as I was. I still don't know who did it to this day, and it really could have been one of them, but I really don't know. She recently moved out because we just didn't quite click as roommates, and she found a new roommate with common interests as her. Since she's been gone, more things have been happening, but in milder reactions. For example, I'll feel like something is standing in a specific part of the room watching me, and it'll feel different at times. Sometimes it's like a child stare. Other times it's just something unsettling. I'll be laying in bed and I'll hear what seems like someone sliding off the other bed. This happened to me last night. I had to get up and check just in case. I'll hear deep breaths as if someone slightly snoring, and my lamp has turned on by itself a few times. I'll even see random shadows out of the corner of my eye. One of the creepiest things that's happened to me so far is when I was folding my laundry and putting them into piles on my bed. I had a really loud thought that said, "Behind you!" I cannot stress enough how unsettled I felt after that. It sounds stupid, but I have a system that I follow when it gets dark out. The mirror closet doors that face each other have to be completely closed at night. A light has to be shining towards the door. Mind you, I've never been afraid of the dark before. If I open the door connected to the bathroom, I have to shine a light inside until I can turn on the overhead, etc. I feel absolutely stupid for talking about this, but I've never been this creeped out about something. That's most of what happens in my room. Am I just overthinking? Or is there something wrong with my room? Look, alright, yo, listen. So, here's the thing. I don't think you're stupid for having these precautions. I don't think you're insane for things that have happened. Your experiences are valid, they're real, and nobody can take that away from you. I know it doesn't help you. So, that being said, with everything that was being flipped upside down, it is possible that your former roommate could have done it, or it could have been one of her friends, and perish the thought, I hope this isn't what happened. Somebody could have broken into your room. I never went to college. I don't know how easy that is. I don't know how difficult that is. I don't know how dorms work. I never went to college. I did, but I never lived in a dorm. I lived at home and I went to community college, and then I went to the military. I know it wasn't difficult to get into those barracks rooms. I'm not going to explain how I know. I just know. But yeah, so I would say it sounds like they intensified in frequency with what happened with your roommate moving out, but it doesn't sound like they increased in intensity. So quite possibly, if there is a spirit there, what they did was they saw your roommate leave. What is Sorry, there's a weird wavelength on the recording software, whatever. So perhaps now they see that you're alone, and it can feel how terrified you are, how scared you are, and it's feeding off of that to do things more frequently. I would say keep doing what you're doing, whatever makes you feel safe. But yeah, you're not crazy. You're not stupid for sharing this or anything. Okay, so I have one more family member story that I just remembered. I don't know if it's real or not, but it's kind of cool and kind of funny at the same time. A little scary. So let's get into it real quick before the end. One day, my uncle was walking home from I don't know where. This is one of my other uncles that also lived in Lagos de Moreno, Mexico. So he's walking home one night. He's already an adult. He's not a kid. So he's walking home and he's walking by this body of water that's in the town, and all of a sudden he hears, "Mis niños, ay, mis niños, ay, alguien ayúdame con mis niños, por favor." My children. My children. Somebody help me find my children, please. And he's wondering to himself, like, what is that sound? What am I hearing right now? So he goes to investigate, and he sees this woman sitting near the water. And he walks up close and he says, Senora, are you okay? Ma'am, are you okay? Are you okay? Is there something I can help you with? And all he's hearing from her is, Mis niños, ¿a dónde están mis niños? Alguien ayúdame a encontrar mis niños. And then Malco gets closer. And when he finally gets within arm's reach of the woman, he tries to tap her on the shoulder. And she turns around. And when she looks him in the eye, he says she had the face of a horse, and he ran as fast as he possibly could. And he didn't stop running until he got home, because he believes he just had an encounter with La Llorona. Ayúdame a encontrar mis niños. Mis niños. And that'll do it for today. I would like to thank all of you for tuning in, and I hope that you will click that like button, you will comment, and you'll subscribe. And please share with all of your friends and family and anyone else you think would love this podcast. I'll see you on the next one. And remember, fear keeps us alive.